As a courtesy to the graduates, we ask you to please silence all electronic devices for the remainder of today's graduation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please stand for the arrival of the official party, the posting of the colors by our student detail team, the playing of the national anthem, and the invocation by Chaplain Wakefield.
Let us bow our heads as we go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for this glorious occasion, and we thank you for the achievements of all of the graduates that are gathered here on this day. Our prayer is that they would retain all that has been learned to help them in their daily experiences as they lead and mentor others. Lord, we pray also for their traveling grace as they prepare to leave this place to experience other victories. It's in your holy name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Wakefield. Everyone, please take your seats. I am Master Sergeant Demetrius Redfield, and I will be your Master of Ceremony for today's event. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford Enlisted Professional Military Education Center, Welcome to the graduation ceremony for the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Class 18-3. Today we are fortunate to have with us many distinguished guests. It is my privilege to introduce our official party. The Commander, I.G. Brown Training and Education Center, Colonel Carrie Lovely. The Command Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force Research Laboratory, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, and our guest speaker, Chief Master Sergeant Thomas Christopher. The 15th Commandant, Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford, Enlisted Professional Military Education Center, Chief Master Sergeant Winfield S. Hinckley, Jr. The first Commander of the I.G. Brown Training and Education Center, Colonel Retired Ed Morrissey. At this time, with all other wing commanders, command chiefs, chief master sergeants, and first sergeants in attendance, please stand and be recognized. We are also extremely grateful for those joining us remotely on Facebook Live and the Air National Guard's Warrior Network. Finally, we would like to recognize the family members and supervision of these graduating NCOs. Without your support at home, leadership and mentoring at work, and dedication to the United States Air Force and our country, this vital step in their career would not be possible. Would all family members and supervisors please stand to be recognized at this time? Colonel Lovely, would you please come forward for opening remarks?
Good morning.
Morning,
Keep
ma'am.
my shoe on, I'll be doing good, huh? So welcome to the graduation of the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy 18-3. Congratulations, you did it. You've worked hard for the last 5 weeks. In fact, we took a few days from you, and yet you excelled, and you gave back to our community to the tune of over 1,000 hours of volunteering to several different organizations. And I know that our community appreciates that. They support the military and the veterans in East Tennessee. So it's nice when we can return the favor. To the supervisors, the chiefs, the command chiefs, the commanders, thank you for supporting your members and allowing them to go to school and taking care of business back home so they didn't have to worry about the mission. For family members and friends and those online, thank you for your support, because without your support, they wouldn't have been able to focus on their studies. The Air Force and the Air National Guard has a rich history. In fact, this summer, TEC celebrates its 50th anniversary. And as mentioned, Colonel Morrissey is the very first commander. I am amazed over the course of time in the Air Force how much has changed, whether you're looking at mission sets, technology, even our uniforms. But on the other hand, there are some things that stay the same, and they should. Our core values, our sense of duty, loyalty, service. People make a difference in an organization. You will make a difference in your organization. As leaders of the Air Force, your contribution is essential to the success or the failure of your unit. And so before we turn you back home to your unit and your family, I wanted to share a few words about leadership. And I'm going to use the analogy of flying an airplane. I thought it was appropriate. We're the Air Force, right? So, first off, if it weren't for 2 bicycle repairmen that were innovative, daring, and persistent, we wouldn't have a heavier-than-air vehicle. So as leaders, I challenge you to be innovative, daring, and persistent. On the flip side, when you're flying a plane, there's a lot of rules, checklists. Otherwise, you're not going to be flying very long, right? Same holds true when you get back to your units. Make sure that you're upholding the standards, and make sure that those around you are doing the same. Anybody that's been in an airplane that's been unbalanced, it's pretty uncomfortable, right? The same holds true. And as leaders, you have to show your troops that they have to have balance in their life. And you've got to depict that so they know that it's important. You've got to balance life and work, family, friends, fitness, faith. Because at the end of the day, or at the end of your career, you don't have one of those things. Where are you? You can do absolutely everything right, and still something will go wrong. Flying an airplane, you could have bad weather. You might have turbulent air. Maybe your aircraft gets, redlined and you can't fly it. The pilot has got to be able to adjust to those conditions. As leaders, you need to be flexible and adjust. Sometimes you might have to stop completely and rethink, but be adaptable. Lastly, you got to have a certain level of respect to fly an airplane, right? There are certain things like gravity that are always going to be there, and you've got to respect it. Otherwise, you could crash. But there's more subdued or less obvious respect. For instance, there's a story about a pilot of a fairly large aircraft that is always yelling at his crew when something goes wrong. How likely do you think the crew is going to say something when there's an issue? Probably not. I tell my staff that I believe respect is a basic building block of any organization. You have to have respect for the organization. That goes back to those rules, the guidance. You've got to have respect for others, not yelling at people. You've got to have respect for yourself. That goes with the balance. I challenge you to have those difficult conversations that you need to have, whether that's with your subordinates or your peers or maybe even your supervisor. But do it respectfully. Think about if you had to be corrected, how would you want that to happen? That's all I have. I know you guys are going to do great things. I wish you all the best. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sergeant Smith, wherever he is, and he's going to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you, and congratulations again.
Good morning, everyone. I've got the privilege to introduce Chief Master Sergeant Christopher. He was my command chief. I came here from Wright-Patterson under the Developmental Special Duty Program, and it's an honor to be able to say, Chief, will you please come take the stage?
Public speaking. Who in here anybody want to guess what the #1 fear in the United States is? Anybody? Nope, spiders. But pretty close behind that is public speaking. So greetings, Class 18-3. Greetings also to the friends and family members that are joining us, and congratulations also to the individuals on Facebook Live and the Warrior Network joining us from around the world. I don't even know where the cameras are. There they are. Thank you for that added pressure. It's not that I don't love, not that I don't love public speaking, but having another complete audience, actually 2 of them out there, just adds to the pressure. But anyhow, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. Thank you, Colonel Lovely. I'm not nearly as polished as you, but thank you for those words. Chief Hinckley, thank you for the invite, and thank you, Sergeant Smith, for all your hospitality and assistance in getting me down here today. So I'll be up front with you. I've told Sergeant Smith, I said if I talk for more than 15 minutes, he is to run across the stage and tackle me. So if I speak long, then it's his fault for not running across the stage and tackling me. So I want to congratulate you all for this milestone in your career. According to my 5-minute Wikipedia research, so it must be true, right? Between 60 and 75% of the people that came through basic training with you are no longer in the military. They have transitioned either on their terms or on ours. But regardless, they are no longer in the military. So that leaves the rest of you. And of this group, according to my research, about 88% of you will go on to a retirement. You will make this a career in the military. So to you, I say congratulations. Hope you enjoy retirement. Thanks for sticking around. So that leaves 12 of you. To you, I say you'll make it through my speech. Bear with me. Maybe you can find something in my speech that you can use in the civilian sector, and thank you for your service as you transition. All right, so I'm going to tell you a quick story that takes place up in Chief Hinckley's old stomping ground, Alaska. Anybody been in his office and seen his Alaska flag in there? So I'm going to tell you a story. Anybody here from Alaska? Anybody? Nobody? All right, I'm going to tell you a story that took place in Alaska, but I need your help in this story. So when I point to you, I want you to say, oh yeah. Think you can help me out with that? Oh yeah. All right. So the story goes, there was a young F-22 pilot got stationed up in Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, and he wanted to live out away from base a little ways. So he bought a house or rented a house, a cabin, out on the side of this mountain, where on the other side of the mountain lived this old, retired, crusty Chief Master Sergeant. Well, one day, the old chief decided to march around the mountain and meet this new lieutenant that was over there. So he went over to introduce himself. So here we find the young lieutenant out tending to his tulips that he just planted next to some stunning pink roses out there next to his cabin. And he sees this chief come walking up the driveway. As the chief got closer, he seemed to get even larger. This was one big dude. He had dressed in his overalls. He had a straw hat on. He weighed about 250 pounds. And he come walking up and introduced himself to the lieutenant. He stuck out a hand that looked about as big as a catcher's mitt. He said, "Welcome to the neighborhood, young lieutenant." Young lieutenant was a bit intimidated, but he was gracious. So they stood there, and they talked for a little while, and talked about how rugged and how beautiful Alaska was and is. And so the chief turned around to walk away, and after they finished talking, the chief said, "Oh, before I walk away," he said, "I forgot the entire other reason I came over here." He said, "I come to invite you to a party that I'm going to have on Saturday night. Lieutenant, are you interested in coming to this party?" And the young lieutenant said, "Oh, yeah." "All right, of course I'll be there, Chief," he said. "We pilots love a good party." Chief says, Good, it's going to be a good party," and turned around and walk away. And he said, the chief said, "Hang on." He said, before I walk away, he said, "I got to warn you." He said, "There's going to be some drinking at this party." He said, "You think you can handle some drinking, Lieutenant?" I tell you, we're in Alaska now. There's some drinking goes on up here. "You think you can handle that?" And the young lieutenant said, "Oh, yeah." So the chief's lips parted into a smile, showing some tobacco-stained brown teeth. He said, Good, it's going to be a good party." So he started to walk away. He said, Chief turned back around. And he said, "I almost forgot. There's going to be some gambling at this party. We're going to play some poker." And he said, "There's going to be some gambling." He said, "If you come, you stand to lose a couple $100. You okay with that, Lieutenant?" Well, now the young lieutenant's getting a little nervous because now money's involved. He musters up some courage and says, "Oh, yeah. I think I'll be able to hold my own, Chief, so I'll be there. Don't count me out." So he said, "Good," and the chief got an even bigger smile on his face. He said, "Good." Turned to walk away. He said, "Look forward to seeing you there on Saturday night." Turned to walk. He said, "One more thing." He said, "I got to tell you." He said, "I just got to warn you. I'd feel bad if I didn't warn you." He said, "There's going to be some fighting at this party." So now the young lieutenant's really nervous because now he notices this chief has a big scar right across the bridge of his nose that he hadn't noticed before. But he'd already gone in too deep, saying he was going to be there. So the young lieutenant, with a bead of sweat on his brow, mustered up one last bit of courage and said, "Oh, yeah. I think I can hold my own, Chief. You don't worry about it." So Chief said, "Good, it's going to be a good party. I just know it." So the chief turns around to walk away, and the young lieutenant said, "Hey, Chief, before you leave," he said, We officers, we're taught in etiquette class to dress appropriately. He said, so what should I wear to this party? The chief stopped, looked at him, scratched his beard, and he said, Lieutenant, wear whatever you want to wear. It's just going to be the two of us. That joke gets funny the more you think about it. And that was the clean version of that. I'll just tell you that. All right. So there's many ways I considered directing my comments today, but I kept coming back to one theme and thought. As you depart here today, I'm going to challenge you to embrace a very simple thought, and that is when you get back to your bases, wherever those may be, I want you to remember that regardless of what you've heard in the past, I don't want you to lead our airmen, or for our Coast Guard members, Coasties, or whatever you want to use it. Please substitute as we go. Well, how can that be, Chief, you ask? You've been told your entire career that we want you to lead airmen, right? But I'm going to challenge you with a different thought. You see, the mindset of leading airmen is fairly simple. You organize them, you train them, you give them the tools they need, you give them a goal, and voila, you're a leader of airmen, right? But I'm going to let you in on one not-so-hidden secret. Those airmen that you lead aren't just airmen. They're human beings who happen to wear a uniform and call themselves airmen. You're not leading airmen, you're leading human beings. They're human beings who don't just go by the title of airman or you're airman. You're missing a huge opportunity if that's how you view them. It's like standing on the deck of a ship and out in the distance you see an iceberg. Sure, it's there and it's what you can see, but there's so much more to it. That was my one nautical reference during this entire thing, so that was for our Coast Guard members. So those human beings that you're tasked to lead, they're so much more than the uniform they wear. They're proud to call themselves airmen, but they also come with a lot of other titles who make them who they are. They call themselves sons and daughters of fathers and mothers who are very proud of them. Those fathers and mothers, they brag on their sons and daughters who wear the uniform because they're defending their nation. Just like your parents brag on you. They're proud of what they've accomplished. Those who you supervise, they also could call themselves husbands or wives, which is another powerful title that they carry. They are husbands of wives of people who they love and they hope to grow old with. They could be single, out there looking for that special someone, but nonetheless, they come with another title called husband or wife. They can also be called mommies and daddies. They have little human beings who they are trying to raise. These individuals, they are charged with the responsibility of raising them up to be emotionally stable, healthy adults. And so when I ask you, what is the more important of those titles that I just named, I would tell you that airman is a great title, but it's probably not the most important title in their life. I would ask you to see them more for what they are as just being airmen. So you can lead them when times are good, and then you can lead them when times are tough. And leading when times are good, that can seem pretty easy, right? Why would it not be? Things are rosy. When your airman wins Airman of the Quarter, does the entire work center celebrate with them? Or do you hear comments like, well, back when I was your age, I won Airman of the Year at the group level. Let's see you do that. What about when they get their CCF degree? Do you congratulate them and do you make a big deal of it? Do you celebrate it? When I looked at the research, the overwhelming majority of this class, you already have your degrees. You may have your associate's degree working on your bachelor's working on your master's. You may have your master's and there'll be a PhD somewhere in your future. But I ask that you celebrate the CCF with them. Make it a big deal. You may not be aware that this CCF degree that they just got may be the first degree that anybody in their family has ever received. It may be that they're the oldest sibling and they're setting a new standard for their family on what their siblings can achieve. Make it a big deal. Bring in a box of donuts. Celebrate it with them. Because what you celebrate is what's going to be important. And you're not only sending a message to those individuals who received the degree, you're going to send a message to everyone else in your work center that college is important. What about that little 2-bedroom shack they just put a down payment on in the rough area of town that you are scared to even go visit? What about that? You might belittle that and say, that's a rough place. But it's not. It's their home. They come with a new title now called homeowners, for better or for worse. So all that is. And that little 2-bedroom house that they have may set them on a path to where one day they may get the title of landlord and own many houses. That could be the start of their journey. So I would say celebrate with them and don't belittle their accomplishments. One thing I've learned in my brief career is that if it's important enough for somebody to bring it up to you, it's important to them. But leading when times are good can be fairly easy. But what about leading when times are tough? These humans that you supervise, they come to work with a smile on their face, hopefully, excited to be the best worker they can be. They want to impress you, and they want to be liked for you. Like we learn, nobody comes to work to fail. They come to the work center trying to do the best they can regardless of what's happening outside their life. And let me tell you, outside their work center in their life, and let me tell you something, they can't just leave their problems at home, regardless of what we think. When their father is diagnosed with a terminal illness, how can they not think about that during the day when they're at work? I mean, how can they really even think about anything else? How much more time are they going to have to spend with their father and drink coffee with them? Is that 2-bedroom house they have, is that second bedroom going to become a mother-in-law suite after he passes? What about when their daughter gets caught stealing a $7 lipstick out of Target? What do you think they think about? Wow, what kind of parent am I? I mean, I'm in the military, and I have our core values, and yet my child is doing something like this? What do you think they're going to think about at work? What about when that pregnancy that was going to make them a mommy and daddy suddenly and unexpectedly ends? Do you expect them to leave that problem at home? I would hope not. I want you to be the best leader that you can be, and I want you to be the leader that people want to share their life's triumphs and their life struggles with you. As General Colin Powell said, and I quote, "The day soldiers stop bringing their problems to you is the day you stop leading them," unquote. So I'm going to end with a story. Chief Jones and I, Greg Jones, good friend of mine, we were at Tinker Air Force Base Station together, and we were getting ready to host Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Chief Cody. He was coming the following day. So Chief Jones and I, we were out walking around, and we were meeting the airmen and seeing kind of looking at them, seeing if their hair was cut, see if their uniform looked good, see how, all the things we chiefs do. We want to make a good impression. And so we met this one individual. He was a staff sergeant, and we met him, and he said, "Hey, Chief," he said, I want to introduce you to somebody I supervise. And he introduced us to a senior airman standing right next to him. And he said, "I'm telling you, I am proud of this guy." And he said, "Before he talks, he's the one that's going to brief, but I want to introduce him to you." He said, "This individual just spent 6 months in Honor Guard, and he is sharp. Let me tell you, he won Honor Guard of the Quarter, named off some awards he won. He said, I'm happy to have him back in." He said, he's about one class away from getting his CCF degree much earlier than I got mine in my career. And he said, and let me tell you, he just won Senior Airman below the zone. He was proud of this guy. He said, "I'm so proud of this guy." He said, "So here, let me turn it over to him." And Chief Jones stopped him. He said, "Hang on, just for a second." He said, "Let me ask you a question." So the staff sergeant looked at us and said, "Sure, Chief, what do you got?" He said, "Does he have any pets?" And the staff sergeant paused. He thought about it, and he got a big smile on his face. He said, "Sure he does." He said, "He's got a chocolate lab." He said, "He's got a chocolate lab named Barney. He's a great dog." He said, "In fact, it was the dog he had when he was younger, and after he finished tech school, he went back home, and he got this dog and brought him." He said, "The dog's not quite as young as he used to be, kind of getting old and kind of limps around a little bit. He's a great dog." What does that tell you? It's a powerful story. It's a simple question. Does he have any pets? You see, that staff sergeant, he wasn't leading an airman. He was leading another human being. So as General Welsh said in numerous speeches, and I'll quote him as well, leadership is a gift. It is a gift given by those who follow, but you have to be worthy of it, and you have to earn it. Being put into a supervisory position by virtue of your grade and your rank, it might make you the boss, but it doesn't make you the leader. Being someone who takes responsibility for the growth and development for another human being who happens to be an airman absolutely does make you the leader. So congratulations, and safe travels as you head back home to your family and friends, and best of luck in wherever life takes you.
Find my page. Chief Master Sergeant Christopher, on behalf of NCOA Class 18-3, we would like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend with us. Chief Master Sergeant Hinckley, would you please join us on stage? And now, the graduation of the flights. At the Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford EPME Center, we strive to create an academic environment that promotes professionalism and personal growth. We make every effort to further develop in our students the professional skills, knowledge, and attitudes required of leaders, supervisors, and managers in today's rapidly changing Air Force. In pursuit of this goal, we challenge these students to comprehend and apply, to proactively participate rather than passively absorb, and to proudly lead rather than meekly follow. We insist on high academic standards, dedication, healthy competition, and the highest standards of personal conduct. It is for these reasons that we believe the most significant achievement any one student can attain is their diploma. This diploma signifies that the holder has completed this prestigious level of enlisted professional military education. The faculty of the Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford EPME Center has tested these students for graduation and found that they have met all requirements for the completion of the prescribed program of study. As well, the Commandant declares his class EPME complete and approves the award of diplomas to the graduates of Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Class 18-3. Instructors will now announce the graduates from their respective flights. Master Sergeant Misty Capps is the instructor for A flight.
The flight leader, the flight leader for A flight, Technical Sergeant James Fry. Technical Sergeant Roger Branham. Technical Sergeant Stephen Carlisle. Technical Sergeant Joshua Coop. Technical Sergeant Brooke Malley. Technical Sergeant Jamie Moore. Technical Sergeant Andrew Packer. Technical Sergeant Donald Peters. Technical Sergeant Jocelyn Samal. Technical Sergeant Jeremy Staten. Technical Sergeant Jeremy Todd. Ladies and gentlemen, the amazing A flight.
Technical Sergeant Isaac Dobson is the instructor for B flight.
The flight leader and class leader, Technical Sergeant Andrew Bethay. Technical Sergeant Luis Diaz. Technical Sergeant Christina Dykstra. Technical Sergeant Eric Herbert. Staff Sergeant Alejandro Piedrahita. Technical Sergeant Joseph Romero. Technical Sergeant Nicole Steiner. Technical Sergeant Joshua Stott. And Technical Sergeant Quentin Terrell. Ladies and gentlemen, B flight, best flight.
I'll leave it up for you. Master Sergeant William McDonald is the instructor for C flight.
The flight leader for C flight, Technical Sergeant Joshua Handy. Technical Sergeant John Rudy Barrett. Technical Sergeant Eric Dreyer. Technical Sergeant Jarrell Futrell. Technical Sergeant Jennifer Johns. Technical Sergeant Michael Klein. Technical Sergeant Nicholas Leslie. Technical Sergeant Joshua Moose Johnson Muse. Technical Sergeant Matthew Welker. And Technical Sergeant Tasha Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sea Flight.
Master Sergeant Cindy Dixon is the instructor for D Flight.
The flight leader for D Flight, Technical Sergeant Samuel Burke. Technical Sergeant Jeremiah Baumgardner. Staff Sergeant Jonathan Brannigan. Technical Sergeant Michael Imler. Technical Sergeant Javier Montoya. Staff Sergeant Kristen Peck. Technical Sergeant Nicholas Prosser. Technical Sergeant Nathaniel Singh. Staff Sergeant Brandon Willis. And Technical Sergeant Autumn Windsor. Ladies and gentlemen, D Flight.
Master Sergeant Elizabeth Aguirre is the instructor for E Flight.
The flight leader for E Flight is Petty Officer First Class Nicholas Cooney. Technical Sergeant Kinsey Brazabon. Technical Sergeant Clint Brower. Technical Sergeant Yevgeny Chistakov. Technical Sergeant Mark Cavell. Technical Sergeant Scottman Johnson. Technical Sergeant Keith Lowry. Technical Sergeant Jason Murray. Technical Sergeant Brandy Robertson. Technical Sergeant Chelsea Solanas. And Technical Sergeant Carlos Villegas. I ruined it again. Ladies and gentlemen, E-Flight.
Master Sergeant Cynthia Wall is the instructor for F flight.
For F flight, the flight leader, Technical Sergeant John Fitzpatrick IV. Tech Sergeant Logan Alders. Technical Sergeant Daniel Barthold. Technical Sergeant Makai Estioko. Technical Sergeant Darren Mays, who unfortunately is not able to be with us today. Technical Sergeant Gentry Olson. Technical Sergeant Justin Rogers. Technical Sergeant Kyle Terry. Technical Sergeant Giovanni Vasquez. Technical Sergeant Lisa Viramontes. Technical Sergeant Sarah Wagner. Thank you. That's that flight.
Technical Sergeant Anthony Colon is the instructor for G flight.
Good afternoon, or good morning. My great pleasure to introduce the flight leader for G flight, Technical Sergeant Amanda Broder. Technical Sergeant Deandra Baker. Technical Sergeant Ryan Canterbury. Technical Sergeant Scott DeLibro. Technical Sergeant Joshua Fleshman. Technical Sergeant Paul Kale. Technical Sergeant Sean Lemaster. Technical Sergeant Sean Nyer. Technical Sergeant Ian Patterson. Petty Officer William Urquiaga. And last but not least, Technical Sergeant Jessica Welsh. Ladies and gentlemen, G flight.
Technical Sergeant Megan Burnett is the instructor for H flight.
The flight leader for H flight is Technical Sergeant Eric K. Foster. Technical Sergeant Joseph A. Berglund. Technical Sergeant Joseph A. Cerullo. Technical Sergeant Heather M. Clifton. Unable to attend today's ceremony, but still a part of our family, Technical Sergeant Brian R. Cooney. Technical Sergeant David W. Ertwine. Technical Sergeant Ebony C. Gray. Technical Sergeant Amber N. Green. Technical Sergeant Jesus R. Jacques. Technical Sergeant Anthony J. Merks. Technical Sergeant Jordan T. Rapp. And last but not least, Technical Sergeant Nicholas R. Shear. Ladies and gentlemen, H-Flight.
Technical Sergeant DeAndre Williams is the instructor for the I-Flight.
The flight leader for I-Flight, the silent killer, Staff Sergeant Lance Carey. Technical Sergeant Camille Altfelish. Technical Sergeant Jeremiah D. Dawson. Technical Sergeant Sean R. Gallagher. Technical Sergeant Daniel J. Joyner. Technical Sergeant, oh my God, Olivia Rains. Technical Sergeant Jared G. Steffens, or is it Stevens? I think it's Stevens. They're synonymous. Technical Sergeant Brian K. Thomas. Technical Sergeant Megan R. Wallace. And last but certainly not least, Technical Sergeant Jeremy D. Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, the invincible I-Flight.
We would like to recognize one final time the graduates of Non-Commissioned Officer Academy, Class 18-3. Congratulations. The Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford Enlisted PME Center Honor Flight program is designed to instill a spirit of healthy competition between flights. The distinction of Honor Flight is awarded to the flights who excelled in the weekly physical fitness challenges, including push-ups, sit-ups, as well as community service events and a summative assignment averages. Additionally, flights must conduct themselves with honor by avoiding discipline problems and meet all required administrative deadlines. At this time, we would like to recognize the winner of Honor Flight for the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Class 18-3. G-Flight. G-Flight earned Honor Flight by engaging in a physical fitness competition in which selected members completed a total of 137 push-ups, 135 sit-ups, second place in a Commandant uniform inspection, an academic average of 83.5%, and 156 hours of community service. Thank you, G Flight. We will continue today's ceremony by recognizing the individual achievements from this talented and outstanding group of NCOs. As with any academic endeavor, there are those who stand out amongst their peers. While all of our graduates should stand proud, having met the rigorous demands of enlisted PME, some have distinguished themselves through individual accomplishments and are deserving of special recognition. It is now time to recognize their efforts with our awards program. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these graduates, so please feel free to come forward and take photos of the award ceremony. The first presentation is the Distinguished Graduate Awards. These awards are presented to the students in the top 10% of the class. Their selection is based on objective and performance evaluations, demonstrated leadership, and performance as a team player. Presenting the distinguished graduates their diplomas will be Chief Master Sergeant Hinckley. The distinguished graduates for the NCOA Academy Class 18-3 are from the 361st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Herbert Field, Florida, and a member of E-Flight, Technical Sergeant Mark Cavell. From the Air Mobility Command, Inspector General's Office, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, and a member of B Flight, Technical Sergeant Christina Dijkstra. From the 88th Medical Group, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, and a member of G Flight, Technical Sergeant Ian Patterson. From the 55th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Detachment 5, Pentagon, Virginia, and a member of F Flight, Technical Sergeant John Fitzpatrick. From the 18th Air Force, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, and a member of H Flight, Technical Sergeant Amber Green. From the 480th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Fort Gordon, Georgia, and a member of B Flight, Technical Sergeant Joshua Stott. From the 31st Intelligence Squadron, Fort Gordon, Georgia, and a member of C Flight, Technical Sergeant Eric Dreyer. From the 375th Dental Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, and a member of I Flight, Technical Sergeant Olivia Raines. Ladies and gentlemen, your distinguished graduates, congratulations. Our next award is the Academic Achievement Award. This award denotes excellence as a scholar and is presented to the graduate with the highest academic point total from objective and performance evaluations. Presenting the award will be the Interim Director of Education, Senior Master Sergeant Timothy Capps. From the 364th Training Squadron, Detachment 1, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and a member of D Flight, Technical Sergeant Michael Imler. Thank you, Sergeant Capps. Our next award is the Commandant Award. This award is given in honor of the Chief Master Sergeant Paul H. Langford, the first enlisted Commandant of the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy and Leadership School from 1968 until his retirement in 1981. Chief Langford began his military career in 1939 and as a member of the Army Air Corps. During World War II, he served in the Philippines with the 27th Bomb Group until his capture by the Japanese. He was a survivor of the Bataan Death March and spent 3.5 years as a prisoner of war. Chief Langford served in uniform for over 42 years and continued addressing students until his death in 2008. His service record is worthy of emulation by all current and future NCOs. Nominees, please stand and remain standing as I call your name. The nominees are, from A Flight, Technical Sergeant Donald Peters. From B Flight, Technical Sergeant Joshua Stott. From D Flight, Technical Sergeant Samuel Burke. From E Flight, Technical Sergeant Mark Colville. From F Flight, Technical Sergeant John Fitzpatrick. From G Flight, Technical Sergeant Ian Patterson. From H Flight, Technical Sergeant Amber Green. And from I Flight, Technical Sergeant Olivia Raines. Presenting this award will be our Commandant, Chief Master Sergeant Hinckley. Nominees, please be seated. The recipient of the Commandant Award is from the 480th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Fort Gordon, Georgia, and a member of B Flight, Technical Sergeant Joshua Stott. Our final individual award, the John L. Leventow Award. It's the most prestigious honor earned by a graduate of any enlisted professional military education course. This award is named in honor of Sergeant John L. Leventow. As a Medal of Honor recipient during the Vietnam War, Sergeant Leventow demonstrated the embodiment of our core values, especially service before self. This award is presented to the student ranked number 1 in the class. It is based on academics, peer and instructor appraisals, and performance evaluations. It denotes excellence as a leader and as a scholar. Presenting the Leventow Award will be our Commander, Colonel Lovely. The top graduate and recipient of the John L. Leventow Award is... You gonna drink this? From the 544th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Detachment 5, Pentagon, Virginia, and a member of F Flight, Technical Sergeant John Fitzpatrick. One more round of applause for all of our award winners. Chief Master Sergeant Hinckley, would you like to share some final comments with the class?
Always. It's my moment to say congratulations to you all. But before I do that, I want to say a couple of special thanks. I want to first thank Chief Christopher for making his trip down here, for bringing just a different viewpoint and really grounding us into a human being, right? Because that's really what the Corps is. And so thank you for that reminder to all of us that continue to do the business that we do, and to you that will lead those out there. So I also would like to send a special thanks out to the instructor staff, because could you rise and be recognized? You know, the staff here is outstanding, and they are really the ones that put it all together. So thank you very much for your dedication throughout the whole class. You leave a legacy from every one of those members that will lead. So thank you very much. You know, with the instructor staff, there's also the support staff, Sergeant Tompkins and Sergeant Capps and Sergeant Palmer. You know, to put on an event like this, to make it all come together, to work a compressed schedule, to make sure that we get you back to your units. They do it successfully and flawlessly, so thank you for your support. I also like to thank the family members. You know, we don't necessarily get a big opportunity. We don't have a big dinner. We just have this ceremony, and it's a big deal. So I very much appreciate the family members that made their way here today. And due to our location, we have the capability to broadcast this live. So I know there's a lot of family members out there watching on Facebook Live and on the Air National Guard Warrior Network. And we have that capability to recognize the graduates and that outstanding achievement. So thank you very much for holding down the fort while they're gone, taking care of those folks as they should. So thank you very much for your support. Now, you know, graduates, this is a huge milestone within your career, and one that you should relish in and be proud of, that you are a graduate of NCOA Academy. You know, when my wife, I was moving into a new office, and I elected not to put some stuff on the wall. I elected not to say, hey, these were some accomplishments, and she reminded me, and she grounded me and said, hey, there's people watching you. and be proud of the accomplishments that you do and that you make throughout your military career, because those that follow you will follow in that lead and be proud and energized to develop themselves in an educational environment like this. You've had lots of experiences here. You've got to reflect upon yourself, your leadership style, and hopefully you've learned a little bit more about yourself, and you've adjusted the way you address folks and the way you lead our airmen to whatever challenge is out there. We do not know what tomorrow brings, all right? We talked about adaptability and being able to take on those challenges and lead your airmen to be adaptable in whatever environment that may come for them. That's your job and your charge. So as you go back to your units, go back, right? Be proud of this, but remember, what got you here and got you through this class will not get you through tomorrow. You must continue to grow. You must continue to develop yourself, and you must continue to develop those airmen that will follow you, because they are the future of tomorrow. Right? We will all exit one day, and your legacy through your airmen will be shown through their achievements and their leadership of their airmen. Because as Chief Christopher said, we're all humans. We all want to do well. Right? They just need your guidance and your leadership through whatever comes tomorrow. So congratulations to you, right, on this significant achievement. It is a big deal. Enjoy that as you drive home or you fly home. But know the challenge of tomorrow is right around the corner. So go forward with full speed. Have a safe journey home. Enjoy your family when you get back, and lead them well. Thank you.
We thank you for attending this celebration in honor of the graduates of NCOA Class 18-3. Before you return to the field, you will conduct a retreat ceremony to symbolize not only the completion of class, but to also honor those who have given the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation and to recommit to defend her at all costs. You're invited to join us at the flag post to witness this occasion. Please stand for the departure of the official party. The retreat ceremony will begin in 15 minutes.